My name's Chris Fearful, or just Fearful. I've been producing drum and bass for about 4 years, and yeah, it's my second release on Diffrent. I got into music production just because of a necessity to make music on my own. Basically, I couldn't rely on band members not making band practice and stuff, so I just got myself a laptop and started making tunes. The Mechanism EP was my first full-length EP, and it's a 4-tracker coming out on Diffrent Music, obviously. It's basically kind of a collection of tracks that are more experimental, focusing on really noisy, big, distorted sounds. 2 of the tracks are quite distorted in that sense, and then the other 2 are a lot more kind of delicate and intricate with their percussion. So there's that balance of the 2 sides. The name came from writing the title track, basically, which I wrote in about 2 weeks. It just came together really quickly, and I wanted the percussion to sound quite fast and intricate, and yeah, it just kind of sounded right. Also, Shock, the 3rd track on the EP, sounds like an engine revving up. So I was like, all of the sounds kind of have these intricacies, but also bigger scale sounds. And I was visiting a lot of the Science Museum a lot, so that came into play, into my influences. Mechanism, the title track, came together in 2 weeks, as I said. It's I was quite on the. I got a big deadline to finish the EP, so I had to basically. I was a bit whipped to get that done, but that worked in my favour. So I worked on it every day, and it just evolved really naturally. Really, I had these little synthy kind of percussion-y things, and I was just messing around with reverb, and then they created a melody. And then from that I moved on to making the drums really, really tight, added a sub, distorted the top end a little bit, over-limited it, split the sound up, took the highs, and then just sat them on top again. So you've got this kind of crunch to the sub. And then just added some reverse kind of paddy samples to give it a bit more hype. The track that really stands out for me from the EP is the collab with Amoss. That was the one where me and Andy got in the studio, and we just said, let's just throw everything that we like from our sample packs, let's just throw them in to Ableton and see what happens. So we went quite sound designy with it, and it worked out really well. Got a really hard-hitting crunch to the main bass sound, and kind of trip-hoppy drums towards the second drop to switch it up a little bit. Shock was a track that kind of started just with the main synth sound, not even a synth sound, it's just a recording. Can't even remember what it is now, but I think it was actually a synth to start with, and then we resampled it 5 times, and then I only had that sound, and then built these big industrial drums around it, just to make it as big and nasty sounding as possible. And it just ended up the way it is now, with lots of kind of breaks where the drums stop and you've got these big kind of suction gaps. Can't really describe it very well. I wrote it a long time ago. Lurker, I can't even remember how I wrote Lurker. I mean, that was still when Fearful was a duo, so me and Rob worked on that. Rob Dawson is sadly not part of Fearful anymore, but we wrote that 2 years ago, so that just came about. I've completely forgotten how we wrote it. I wish I knew. Got the project somewhere, obviously, but it just came about really quickly. I think we wrote it in a day, maybe 2 days, and then I just had to give it a quick once-over mix down to make it ready for the EP. So with the EP, we did a limited run of screen-printed CDs. As seen here, beautifully done by the man like Dexter himself. Is it like that in front of my face? Yeah, and on that CD there's a couple of bonus tracks, one of them being Lurker VIP, which is kind of a DJ tool which goes from 125 BPM to 170, so you can use it to switch up the genres a little bit. And Tongues VIP, which is obviously my first release on Diffrent, and I wanted to just put a new take on that as a little freebie for people who buy the CD. So I hope people like that. It's got a bit of metal influence and the breakdowns. So if you want to catch me live at my next gigs, I think the next one is Shibui Festival, and that's in August in the Brighton area. It's a secret location, so if you can get tickets to that, make sure you do. If you want to keep up to date with my next releases and check out my previous releases, you can do that at soundcloud.com/fearful. Twitter, fearfuldmb, Facebook, fearfuldmb, Instagram, I think it's fearfuldmb as well. Yeah, and if you want to book me, you can do that at fearfuldmb@gmail.com. Peace! Oh, it's so difficult. Fucking catch a fucking ball, can't you? Fuck.